What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. Ladies and gentlemen, this one right here is one of the darkest stories to come out of Atlanta music culture in a long time. And I'm not talking about charts. I'm not talking about club anthems. I'm not talking about no music. I'm talking about a verdict that just ended a man's life and shattered the lives of others in the process. John Michael Hakeem Gibson, better known to the world as Cash Out. The man who once had you singing "I'm cashing out" in every club will now be spending the rest of his life in prison. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Life in prison. And then an additional 70 years. A jury found him guilty on multiple charges, including racketeering and coercion of women into illegal activity. These are not charges to gloss over. These are not rumors. This is not internet drama. This is a verdict handed down by a Fulton County jury after a month-long trial that shook the city of Atlanta to its core. And to make matters even more unimaginable, his own mother, Linda Smith, known as Mama Cash Out, was convicted right alongside her son. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Another man, Tyrone Taylor, was also convicted. Life plus 70 years.
I cover a lot of court, and typically if a defendant talks during sentencing, they'll show remorse or ask for leniency. Cash Out didn't do any of that and instead claimed the victims who came forward were bullied into doing so. On Monday, John Michael Gibson took the mic one final time. Not as the well-known rapper Cash Out, but rather as a convicted felon fighting for a chance at freedom.
You know you can be falsely accused of things. Jesus was falsely accused. One day, the truth will come out that these things never happened.
A jury found him guilty on roughly a dozen charges, including RICO, rape, and sex trafficking.
It's never behind me. It's always with me, even in my sleep and my subconscious. It changes you. It shakes you to the core.
Several victims and their families shared stories of the trauma they still endure.
Using his one-hit wonder status to steal their person. He and his mom literally stole the souls of all the women that they victimized.
The judge said the state proved those victims' stories beyond a reasonable doubt and showed no leniency as she sentenced Cash Out, his mother, and his cousin to decades in prison.
Court heard and viewed evidence demonstrating the very worst of human behavior toward other human beings.
His cousin expressed disappointment over the outcome.
And I didn't do.
Mama Cash Out said she'd accept whatever fate she deserved.
When the verdict came in, I wasn't angry at all. Not at all. I was so sorry for the victims, and I pray for them and will continue to pray.
This wasn't a case about a fallen rapper. This was an organized enterprise. According to the prosecution, this was a system of deception. A racket run through a music label, Pyrex Music Group, used as a front to recruit, to lure, and to control. The testimony from the survivors was heartbreaking. You had young women standing in front of the courtroom describing PTSD, anxiety. One said she still fears for her life. Another one said her soul was stolen. These are not exaggerations. These are not tabloid headlines. These are the words of people whose lives were broken. And then came Cash Out statement. Standing before the judge, he did not show remorse. He did not apologize to the victims. He claimed innocence and said he was being targeted. He even compared himself to Jesus. Jesus. This man stood in front of a courtroom facing life and said the jury got it wrong. He said the victims were bullied into testifying. And then he pulled the holy card, calling himself a falsely accused figure. My brother, nah. The judge was clear. The evidence showed what she called the very worst of human behavior, and she was not going to hold back. Her sentence was not just about the law. It was a message. A message that if you use power, status, and music to do harm, you will pay. And pay Cash Out did. But here's the part that cuts even deeper. This man had it. He had a career, hits on the radio, a name in the industry, a future. And instead of using that platform to build, to inspire, to win, he allegedly built a system of exploitation. Through DMs, social media, fake promises of stardom. Women were lured in and then, according to prosecutors, controlled, stripped of dignity, and turned into a product. And I gotta say this with a heavy heart. When you come from the hip-hop community, when you're a black man with opportunity, you gotta do better. Not just for yourself, but for the people who look up to you, for the women who supported you, for the families who bought your music, for the city you claim. Atlanta ain't deserve this. The culture ain't deserve this. Hip-hop ain't deserve this. And these women, they deserve protection. They deserve respect. They deserve the chance to live their lives without being caught up in this kind of darkness. Now look, I know some people gonna say, what if he telling the truth? What if he was set up? But this wasn't a snap decision. This was a jury. This was evidence. This was weeks of testimony. And the verdict was unanimous. Cash Out, guilty. Mama Cash Out, guilty. Tyrone Taylor, guilty. And now, 3 lives lost to the prison system and countless more shattered. Look, I'm not here to celebrate somebody's downfall, but I am here to stand for accountability. And if we truly care about our communities, if we truly want to fix what's broken, we have to acknowledge the pain. We have to listen to the survivors. And we got to stand on justice, period. This ain't about music. This ain't about streams. This is about human dignity and the price you pay when you violate it. I'm praying for the victims. I'm praying for the families. And I'm praying for a future where this type of story never has to be told again. What up, world? R.I.C.H coming right back at you. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the loudspeaker is not a shout. It's a whisper. Sometimes the biggest cry for help don't sound like a scream. It looks like a video posted at 3 a.m. with a DMX clip and a silent message nobody knows how to answer. And right now, that somebody is Justin Bieber. Yes, Justin, the kid who made Baby a global phenomenon. The same boy who went from YouTube to stadiums, who danced, sang, and smiled his way into every living room in America. And now he looks like a shell of that same kid. He's struggling, not just with music, not just with fame, but with himself. And the most painful part, we're watching a man unravel while people argue over chart numbers and outfits. Now, earlier this month, Justin dropped his new album, Swag. Say what you want about the title, but the music has something in it. Not just vibes, not just chart filler, but pain, vulnerability, and a man standing on the edge of something and hoping the world would catch him. And then he posted a clip of DMX sitting across from Ayanla Van Zant being asked the simplest, hardest question a man with demons could face. Do you want to live clean? And DMX, with his signature growl, said this: when you say clean, no weed, no drinking, nothing? And Ayanla replied, nothing, to be a clear vessel for the voice of God. And DMX looked at her and said with the weight of a man who had seen too much, I think I'm exactly where I need to be with God. Now, why would Justin Bieber post that? Why would a pop star at the height of his career drop a video like that? I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't just a clip, it was a confession. A silent one, but a confession nevertheless. We all can see Justin's been acting different. From the disheveled look, to the wild outbursts at paparazzi, to that infamous clocking to you that I'm standing on business moment. That's not just a catchphrase, that's a cry. A man who feels like nobody is really listening to him. Like everyone's laughing, but nobody's paying attention. And here's where it gets serious. People have been speculating about drug use, about substance abuse, about whether or not Justin is relapsing or whether he ever got clean in the first place. Now, to be clear, Justin himself said the look was from exhaustion, from working on music, from being a new father to his son, Jack Blues. And maybe that's true. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe the pressure of stardom, marriage, fatherhood, creativity, and existence are just too much to carry without breaking down from time to time. But here's the thing. When a man starts posting spiritual warnings, when a man uses the image of DMX, a man who died from a cocaine-induced heart attack, as a reflection of his own soul, you better pay attention. You better stop laughing and start praying. Now let's talk about what addiction looks like. It doesn't always look like a crack pipe or a needle sometimes. It looks like a celebrity on Instagram sweating through a hoodie in 90-degree weather. Sometimes it looks like a man who just sold 163,000 copies but can't look himself in the mirror. And sometimes it looks like posting a clip of a man who has been dead for years, hoping somebody out there gets the message. And I do. We see you, Justin. But here's what bothers me. Why is it that when black artists cry out, we rush to pray for them? But when it's a white pop star, people turn it into memes. DMX posted that clip in 2013 and people were in tears. But Justin does it and it's like, bro lost his mind. What he lost is the ability to be human without being entertainment. Justin Bieber needs help. Not an intervention on TMZ, not a red table talk, but real help, a therapist, a support system. People who don't care about the brand, but about the man. And I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. He ain't the only one. This industry is eating people alive. They'll give you a mic, a stage, a check, and then leave you alone in the dark with the demons. And when those demons start talking louder than your friends, that's when you end up like DMX. So Justin, I don't know if you high, I don't know if you clean. I don't know if you fighting or folding, but I do know this. You're still loved, you still matter, and you still got time to choose a different ending to this story. And if DMX taught us anything, it's that you can have faith and still struggle. You can believe in God and still fall. But what you can't do is ignore the signs. And right now, you are the sign. We don't need you to be perfect, Justin. We just need you to be honest. We need you to be safe. We need you to get back to that place where the music was fun, not fuel for a breakdown. And if this industry ain't gonna give you that peace, walk away. Don't become another tragedy we play on Tuesday. What up, world? R.I.C.H coming right back at you. Family, today a part of our childhood drowned in the waters of grief. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Theo Huxtable himself, is gone at 54 years old. A accidental drowning in Costa Rica took away a man who represented so much more than a character on a sitcom. This ain't just a celebrity passing. This feels like we lost a big brother, a cousin, a friend from back in the day that used to come through the living room every Thursday night.
Right, you either watched them grow up or you grew up with them. So overnight, here's the latest that we heard from Costa Rica's Red Cross. They're the ones that responded to the beach where this happened. When they arrived, they said that two bystanders pulled two men, sorry about that, it's a little loud here in San Jose, pulled two men from the water. One of them was in critical condition. The other was Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Tragically, the beloved actor died at the scene.
Yes, this is Theodore Huxtable.
This morning, fans around the country mourning the tragic loss of the Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
You will always be my son. Thanks, Dad.
The 54-year-old actor was reportedly on vacation when authorities say he accidentally drowned in the Caribbean Sea at this beach in Limon, Costa Rica, Sunday afternoon. A first responder from the Red Cross saying Warner and another man were swept away by a strong current, which is common in that area. Bystanders tried to rescue Warner, but by the time authorities arrived at the scene, he had no pulse. The other man transported in critical condition. The official cause of death, asphyxiation by submersion. For 8 seasons, Warner played the endearing, humorous Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, the sitcom becoming a cultural phenomenon. This morning, tributes pouring in. Tracee Ellis Ross, who played Warner's on-screen wife, writing, "You were my first TV husband. My heart is so sad. You made the world a brighter place." The actor leaving behind a wife and daughter, posting this video a few months before he passed away, a flower given to him by his daughter tucked behind his ear.
Just wanted to remind you, as I remind myself, that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile.
Some of y'all don't understand. If you wasn't born in the 80s or raised in the 90s, then maybe you don't feel this one the same way. But for us, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was the cool kid we wanted to be. The young black teenager who got to grow up in a house with a lawyer dad and a lawyer mama and a support system. We envied that. We loved that. We needed that. And through that role, he changed the way we saw ourselves. He wasn't playing a thug. He wasn't playing a stereotype. He was just Theo, a regular black teenager struggling to figure it out, just like all of us. A whole generation of us laughed until we cried. But underneath that laughter was reality. Black families watching together. Black parents and black children relating to each other on screen. We didn't have much on television back then, but we had The Cosby Show. And through that, we had Theo. And through Theo, we had Malcolm. He was our representation. He was our cool. He was our sign that maybe, just maybe, we could grow up and go to college too. And he didn't stop after The Cosby Show. He kept working. Malcolm and Eddie on UPN. Y'all remember that? Black comedy, black friendship, black excellence. And he got older with us. He started showing up in more dramatic roles. Read Between the Lines with Tracee Ellis Ross, The Resident, American Crime Story. Always bringing that same honesty, that same intensity. He was never loud about his career. He didn't need to be. Because when you're that gifted, the work speaks for itself. And that's what Malcolm-Jamal Warner did. He let the work speak. He wasn't just an actor, he was a poet, a musician, a Grammy winner. He won for Best Traditional R&B Performance. And he was nominated for a spoken word poetry album. The brother had layers, he had soul. And even though he was private, you could feel his depth every time he spoke. Now look, we can't talk about Malcolm-Jamal Warner without acknowledging the dark cloud that came over The Cosby Show. He said himself, the legacy of that show is tarnished. And he was right. But Malcolm never let that be the final chapter. He kept working, kept shining, kept showing us that black men can evolve, can grow, can adapt. He stayed true to who he was, and that's why this loss hurt so deep. He wasn't a scandal. He wasn't a headline. He was a human being whose life quietly impacted millions. And when he died in that water in Costa Rica, a wave hit all of us. And I ain't talking about an ocean current. I'm talking about a wave of memories, a wave of nostalgia, the wave of loss that comes when somebody who helped shape your childhood is gone. Magic Johnson said it best. He said he and his wife were super fans. And every time he saw Malcolm, they would have deep conversations and talk about basketball. That's who he was, a thinker, a conversationalist, a man who represented black manhood with dignity. Tracee Ellis Ross said it too. He was her first TV husband, and her heart is broken. Ours is too. He was married in real life, but he kept his family very private. Our prayers go out to them, to his wife, to his daughter, to his friends, to his castmates who lost a brother, to all of us who lost a symbol of what was possible. I grew up watching Theo, and I'm telling you right now, this one hit different. It's like losing a big cousin who made it, like losing a piece of your own family tree. In a world where black role models on television are few and far between, Malcolm-Jamal Warner stood tall. Never loud, never wild, just stood tall. And for that, brother, we thank you. We honor you, and we carry your spirit with us. You never lost yourself, and that's why we'll never forget you. Rest in power, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.